Hello and welcome to the Victorian Toffee Show. I'm your host Andy, and with me as always are my co-hosts Nick, Chris and Tim. And what you've just heard is a banging tune. Still number one, guys, I think? Yeah, still number one.
I did do a check.
Dominating the charts.
With the other songs, I think we've slipped down a bit, but we've still got the main number one, so that's good.
Fantastic. So yeah, we've had a pretty fantastic week, I would say, being a Blue. And let's get going and talk about the Crystal Palace game. Chris.
Yeah, so another good result, another 3 points to keep the keepers rolling. Wasn't a pretty affair, wasn't as good as we have played. We sort of grinded out a result, I think is probably a good way of putting it. It was quite dogged, quite sloppy at times, but once again, a really good enough performance to get the 3 points, which, this time last year was never the case. We'd never managed to get 3 points playing like that. So I think that's a very, very big positive. I think the game was a bit different to the other two games. Obviously, Palace were happy to let us have the ball and sit back and try and catch us on the counter. I think Coleman was absolutely brilliant all day on Zaha. He had Zaha in his pocket pretty much. I think Mina was generally quite good with that as well. I think Decore had a really solid game defensively, but going forward, he was quite average. He turned it over a few times with some cross-field balls, got us into a bit of trouble, but we managed to get out of it. So it was a little bit poor on his behalf, but he instantly come out after the game and said he wasn't happy with his performance and he knows he needs to work harder. And I think that's really good to see. He's not happy with an average performance. He wants to have a really good performance every game. So really happy with that. I think the goals were really, really, really good. That first goal was just pure class. I think the movement of the ball was phenomenal. Gomez did all the hard work. James, that ball to Coleman was just centimetre perfect, and he squared it perfectly for DCL. All he had to do was really hit the target, which he did, and it went in. So I think that was probably one of our better passing goals in the last couple of years. From there, I think the game was a bit scrappy. Penalty shouts. Was there a penalty? Was there not? Same for them to us. Obviously, the penalty was a couple of shouts were a bit contentious. The handball at the moment is the rage, and I know the FA come out overnight and the Premier League did and said that they're going to relax it. They're going to leave it more to the referee's call, I think, which is good. I actually thought the first one was more of a pen than the second one, but penalty's a penalty. VAR went in our favour again, which again is quite odd. But all in all, I think a good 3 points considering we played quite average. I'm interested to see how we now go, obviously, with the cup game tomorrow morning. I think, this is a very different season. Normally we would have had an international break already. We normally have it sort of two or three games in. We've had 5 games. So, having a game cup has been quite different. So I'm interested to see how it goes. The players get a bit of a refresher after these next 2 games. So it'll be interesting to see if some performances improve. Maybe they might be a little bit tired at this stage, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But happy for the 3 points, and we move on to the Brighton, who were quite good against United and probably deserve the points there. So we'll talk about that one later. But Tim, what did you think?
I thought it was a pretty good win. Obviously, wasn't the prettiest one aside from that first goal that we scored, which was probably one of the better looking goals I've seen from any Everton team in recent memory. That reverse pass by James was just a thing of beauty. I thought, their goal, we've all sort of had our say on Jordan last week, and I don't think there was much he could have done there. That was just a really well taken corner and a really good header. I think the first handball that wasn't called against Ward was fair. I know there's been, as Chris mentioned, a lot of rage about this rule this week, but the way I heard it explained, which made sense, was imagine that your body's like a silhouette, and as long as your hands are inside that silhouette, it's basically not going to be a handball.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the second one, his hand was sort of out. Yes, he was changing direction, but in slow-mo it almost looked like he moved his hand towards the ball. So look, I think if that was called against us, I think we'd all be fuming.
Yeah.
But it is actually to the letter of the law, it was definitely a penalty. Interesting seeing Richarlison take a penalty, because obviously it's been Sigurdsson for the last couple of years and or Baines. I got a bit nervous when he did his little stutter step run up, but he certainly smashed it home quite well. Also enjoyed James taking his corners from the left-hand side, which Dinya's been taking for the first few weeks.
Yeah.
And really created a couple of chances from those corners as well that potentially DCL should have scored one of them. An interesting little stat from the game, Zaha did not successfully dribble past an opponent, which is the first time that's happened in 4 seasons.
Oh, wow.
So we definitely shut him out of the game. One other thing, with Rodriguez or James, I have a mate who goes for Arsenal, and he used to always bang on about how good Wilshere was, but it never showed in the stats because he always provided the pass before the assist, if you know what I mean. Now, obviously, James has passed to Seamus Coleman, and then Coleman gets the assist, but really it was James's pass that sort of created the chance. And I thought, I wonder if there is a stat for that. So I did a bit of research, and there is. So it's actually called shot creating actions. So James, just to sort of underline how important he's been to us, in fair enough, we're only 3 games into the season, but he's top 3 in the league for shot creating actions per 90 minutes, behind only De Bruyne and Salah, with 6.1 per 90 minutes shot creating actions. On the other side as well, goal creating actions per 90 minutes, Richarlison comes in 3rd, behind Podence from Wolves, because he had one good game, and Harry Kane. So yeah, I mean, that shot creating actions per 90 minutes, he's in the top 3 of the league amongst guys like De Bruyne and Salah, which is really impressive, and I think really highlights how good he's been, even though he may not have all the goals and all the assists at the moment. So yeah, just obviously a good win. Again, we all said this was a potential banana skin of a game. And yeah, look, Palace really came into it in the second half, but we defended well. And also, yeah, I agree with Chris that Decore didn't have his best game going forward, but again, there was another opportunity for them to break from one of our own corners, and he was the one who tracked back Zaha and made sure he didn't get around him.
Yeah.
So another great game. So all in all, yeah, as we say, top of the league for a minute there, except, City didn't do us any favours, and top of the UK music charts and the UK movie charts. And
that's the one that matters.
That's it. It's really good to be a Blue. What do you reckon, Nick?
Yeah, not too much to add to that. I think it was a bit of a scrappy game. I just think it's maybe something that hasn't been picked up, or maybe it has, but the fact that we are grinding out results, because I don't think we were that good, especially in the first half against West Brom, and we're still coming away with hard-fought victories. And Crystal Palace, we limited them to very little. They scored from a corner. At first, I thought maybe Pickford could have done a bit better on reflection. I mean, you can't really do too much with that. 6 yards out. I think it'd be harsh to blame him, even though I probably did at the start. I thought everyone was fairly decent. I thought Decore was, as I say, poor going forward, but good defensively. Andre Gomez has really impressed me this season so far. I think he looks really good, and I think it's a case of him having better players around him. He can just dictate, and he can control the ball. He's quite a calm, controlled, accomplished player, and he can just walk around, pop it off here and there, and let all the flair players do something ahead of him. So that was really good. I thought, like everyone else, the goal was just absolutely lovely football. Really, really lovely to see. What a great ball from James, sort of a no-look pass into Coleman. And I think, a couple of people thought that, DCL should have done better with the finish, but I think the ball was actually slightly behind him, and he sort of gets it on target with power, and, the keeper's not going to save that, and he can't really affect the ball that much. So that's really good. The penalty, I actually thought it was a stone wall, and I don't really understand the controversy around it. Maybe it's me not remembering the rules, but I was always taught. I know as a defender you can't be walking around sort of like that. I understand that, but his hand's out here, and he actually motions his hand towards the ball.
Yeah.
And I think it's on a spectrum, isn't it? It's not everything is so clearly defined, and that's where I think VAR is not a good thing, because VAR clearly defines stuff and doesn't leave anything to interpretation. So I think, yes, I don't think it was deliberate. I don't think he's thinking, I want to handball this ball, but he still moved the ball, his hand towards the ball, and it still catches him. In my opinion, whether it's VAR, whether it was 5-10 years ago, that's a penalty. In my opinion, and if it was given against us, I wouldn't actually complain about it. I thought it was a stonewall penalty. The first one less so. But yeah, can't complain. I thought, overall, aside from that, we deserved to win. I'd say we limited Crystal Palace to very little. We didn't look too great ourselves going forward, but overall a decent away win, and it keeps rolling on. Andy, what about you?
I definitely agree with your saying it was a very difficult game, and also some of the performances by some of the players wasn't up to the standard. Pretty much what we saw at the Tottenham game. And I think that it really showed, I think maybe the multiple games some of the players have been playing, maybe a bit of tiredness and stuff. But yeah, great first goal, just the build-up play, and James' pass to Coleman. And just Coleman's all-round game, incredible. He's in some great, really good, fantastic form.
Yeah, for a guy who looked a bit cooked last season, he's almost
stepped up.
Second win, hasn't he?
Yeah, and a lot of people sort of were quick to write him off and say,
yeah, definitely,
get me back in or get us a new right back. But so far, 3 games in the Prem, he's been our player of the season. In my opinion, he's been absolutely solid. So really work on him. And to be honest, and he's a true Evertonian. He loves us and he wears his heart on the sleeve and gives us what we all want. So fair play to the lad, and I'm glad.
Yeah, no, it's really great to see. But yeah, a lot of, the goal we conceded was, you can't really stop those type of headers. But yeah, probably Keane and Richarlison probably should have manned up a bit better on the corner. And yeah, the penalty, I can't see anything wrong with it. Like, he's standing there and his hand's out and it hits his hand. Like, playing indoor, ball's going to hit your hand sort of like that in that position, and I've been called for fouls, so it happens. But I can understand the whole silhouette thing. But I also was like a bit nervous when they took a shot and Calvert-Lewin sort of went in close and it sort of came off his body, but then also hit his hand. And like, I know some pundits have said out there that, well, maybe that should have been pulled up and stuff. But yeah, he got very, very lucky, I think.
But that's where that sort of silhouette comes into play.
Yeah.
Standing like this, your arms are like this.
He's sort of like leaning forward.
Together almost, like you're a showgirl. And, so his hands are sort of inside the silhouette of his body.
Yeah.
So kind of okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's I kind of held my breath for that moment. I'm like, oh, please no, don't concede. What are you doing? But yeah, very lucky there, and the VAR checked it and they cleared it, so very good.
Going in our favour, which again is a massive
I know
game.
It's weird, right? We never got that since it started. Really, we didn't get any of those type of calls.
It's 2 VAR decisions that have gone our way in 2 games, and 2 results that we've grinded out that last year we would have conceded and or possibly even gone on to lose. So
that's another thing. I think even though our last 2 performances, the last game and this game, our performances haven't been up to standard. The new mentality of holding on, and just grinding out a result, I'm just loving it. With the West Brom game, I'm like, oh, we're gonna, it's 2-2. It's same old Everton, but then we just went goal, and it's like, oh wow, what's this? And then we've done it again in this one, and that they had a few chances when it was when it was 2-1 after the penalty. It was just basically them over the possession and a few shots and stuff, and I just thought, okay, we could be in a bit of trouble here, especially after the Calvert-Lewin, lucky, not called and stuff. I was like, oh, we're running out of luck here a bit. But I never was feeling, oh, we're really gonna mess this up. Like Everton's just gonna, Mina's just gonna tackle a guy.
There's
without
actually
the ball.
a sense of calm now. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's
there is
exactly
a
it.
sense of calm.
Honestly, realistically, in my 24 years of supporting this club consciously, in that I remember, I've never felt that calm. I've never felt so calm like I do now.
Yeah.
Even when Mina's doing his best impression of a salmon on the ground.
Oh my goodness. What was that about? No one's talked about that. Like he's on the ground and he tries to head it on the ground.
But he tried twice. It wasn't once. It was twice.
Twice.
But it was good from him because it's clear the ball or get rid of the ball, get the ball out of the way in any way possible.
Yeah.
So,
But the ball did, like, as his hand was on the ground, the ball did, bounce off it. I'm like, oh, careful, Mina.
The guy's putting his body on the line. He's putting his body on the line, and he's doing everything for the club. But look, I think we all have our reservations about Mina. I think he has his limitations, and I think he can be a little bit dodgy at times. But I love him. I think he's I think he's solid enough. I think he can still improve. He's still only in his mid-20s. And I just love a player that puts their body on the line for the Blues. Do you know what I mean?
It's great to see.
That's what we'd all do if we were. I know they're paid slightly better than we'd probably demand, but nevertheless, there's plenty of centre backs and plenty of other players in the Premier League that do not care for the club, do not put their body on the line. And I think him sort of doing his little weird salmon dive kind of sort of shows us that he actually does care, and I rate that massively.
Yeah, and I think that's Carlo's mentality as well. Like driving into the team, like if you lose the ball, you fight for it back. Like don't just give up on it. Which is great to see. But yeah, no, I just thought, onwards and upwards, another win. Leicester. Yeah,
it's really great.
City,
to see
what are you doing? Could have helped us.
You know what I mean?
What's that?
It's really great to see a solid game plan. Like when you watch play, you actually see what we're trying to achieve, and that first goal is a prime example of.
Oh, definitely.
Gomez picking up the ball sort of out on the left, pinging a cross-field pass, which he can hit those passes beautifully. Hits Coleman, who plays it back to Decore, who's pushed over onto the right with James to create that overload. And as that shifts their whole defence over to the right, then it's DCL, and then Richie's sort of free on the left to come in as a second striker with Digne bombing on along with him. And, it's obviously it's easy to see that that's what we're doing, but so far teams have found it quite hard to stop. Because a lot of our goals have come in that same fashion, creating that overload of players on the right. And whipping it in. So almost by the time we get the ball in there, Richarlison is a second striker, as opposed to a left winger, and it's really good to see that there's a defined game plan.
A big difference between last year and this year, because Coleman last year didn't have a lot of confidence to get forward like he has been, and
That's
he can, because he didn't really have anybody that could drop into his position and help him out. I think. Alan just marshaled.
I was going to say, Chris, Alan. I thought Alan was fantastic.
But I think the big one for Coleman is Decore.
Decore's helped
so well together, and it allows him to keep going. We always know Luca Dini's going to get forward no matter what, because he's quick enough and fit enough to get back, because he's sort of got that youth. But Coleman, especially towards the end of last year, just wasn't doing it, and I think. Probably that's why a lot of us thought that he maybe past it. But I think the signing of Decore it's turned Coleman into pretty much a brand new player. He's a fresh player, and I think a lot to be said there that
you can trust the
him getting a lot
now.
of assists for the remainder of the year now.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess just on a slightly negative note, looking at James, he obviously doesn't track back a whole lot. He does, but I wouldn't say he committed sprints back, if you know what I mean. No. And obviously at the moment we're winning, and he's creating, he's top 3 for chances created and all that sort of thing in the Prem, so it's all rosy. But it kind of reminds me, it has the potential to go the way of what happened with Ozil at Arsenal, where, even though he's still creating in games where maybe that's not happening for him and he's also not tracking back, suddenly the media gets on his back and calls him lazy and... so I mean, look, take it all, great now while it's all rosy and he's creating all these chances, and we're top of the league almost and all that sort of thing. But there is a potential for it to go the other way. I'll be actually really interested to see how he goes in the derby. Because the way Liverpool play requires a lot of tracking back by your wingers.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So whether or not he even starts that game or what formation we line up in will be very interesting.
Definitely. And with that, let's get into the West Ham game for tomorrow morning. Tim, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Look, I guess I'll get up 4:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
Depends how many more whiskeys we have during the show, I guess. But look, last week I would have said this is a lay down misère. This game, I would have been very confident going into it, and I would have thought we'd rotate quite heavily. But obviously West Ham are coming off a pretty good win, while Moyes was not even there with his Rona. So it's hard to get a gauge on it. I do get the sense that Ancelotti is taking this competition quite seriously.
Definitely.
Just purely based on the lineups he's selected so far. Obviously,
Agreed.
The first game was very heavy rotation. The second game was similar, but with a sprinkling of first teamers like DCL and Richarlison. But still, like James, Decore, those guys weren't even on the bench. So I'm very interested to see how he lines up, because the game against Brighton in the 3 days after that is not an easy game either. I mean, they hit the bar 5 times against United.
Yeah, they should have won that.
They should have won that game.
They should have won that.
And I'll touch on my Brighton later when we review that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the most interesting thing for me will be seeing how we line up. I imagine we're going to have a few more first team players in there. But look, obviously, I think we want to win this competition. It's a cup win. We haven't won anything in Yonks. And it's a route into the Europa League as well, even though we're obviously a Champions League team.
Yeah,
that's it. What about yourself, Nick? I'd say we should win 3-1. Nick?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit of a different prospect than it was maybe a few days ago. I think West Ham obviously coming up with such a phenomenal result against Wolves. They'll have the wind in their sails, and David Moyes will set his team up to try and get a result against obviously his old club, and there's obviously that little bit of rivalry there. I think it's a great opportunity to keep with the team that played against Fleetwood to a certain extent. I think Nkunku needs to be. He's done enough to start the game. I think he's a fantastic prospect and looks like probably one of our most exciting players this season even. I think, Delph will probably continue playing, because I think he either needs to be kept in the shop window or at least kept playing to be, I think he actually did okay again. I know it was against Fleetwood, but he did okay. And I think he's done enough to stay there. Kenny as well, probably continue at right back. I think the only change I can really see from that team is probably Decore coming in for somebody. I think maybe maybe Gomez, Sigurdsson might come in for Gomez as well. But I think he'll stick with DCL and Richarlison, I would imagine, because it is a tough game. And as you say, Tim, we are taking this seriously. We haven't won a trophy in so many years, and I think we need that as a club. We need a trophy. Obviously, a decent league position is paramount, but I think we need a trophy, and I think it's a good opportunity to keep the momentum going, and I think it'll be a decent side, and I think we should comfortably beat West Ham. So I'll go with 2-0. 2-0.
Nice.
What about you, Andy?
I'm definitely agree about there'll be some rotations, but you got to have DCL and Richarlison there. I still don't think Moise Keane is ready to start, even though it's a cup game. It'll definitely be tough after West Ham have had that big win. Other than that, I'm confident in Carlo will, get the job done, and we'll move on. I would say probably 2-1. Chris.
Yeah, so I pretty much echo what everyone's said. So
wardrobe malfunction there, mate.
Wardrobe malfunction there.
Got some ghosts.
The set's falling down around him.
Yeah. Now I think Nkunku's definitely got to start. He's proven that he's good enough to start, especially in the cup. I think he's solidified his spot there for the cup. It also keeps Luca Dean a bit fresh for the Prem because he's obviously a vital player. I think Keane and Mina will start as the two centre backs. I think with the sort of the way West Ham line up and the way their players power through midfield, Soychek and Bowen, who scored a couple of goals. Even Yarmolenko, who's been playing for him, same sort of player. I think we need, that's right, that Yarmolenko that we were linked with for 2 seasons and never had.
He signed for us a few times, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon we probably signed him about 5 times, I think. But yeah, I think we need to have probably our best 2 centre-halves in there and one of Allen and Decore. I think he'll play Decore with Delph. I wouldn't be surprised if, like Nick said, Sigurdsson gets a start over Gomez. I think Sigurdsson has a role to play with us. We all know he is a very good footballer. We know he's a chance to score from nothing. We've seen all his goals. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start. And he would have to have a bit of a sore ego, I think, Sigurdsson. He was our number 1 signing, highest money. He pretty much was our guy. He's been captain for us, quite a lot. And all of a sudden he's not getting a game because Carlo's identified that he just wasn't good enough in the position that he was meant to be playing. So that would hurt. And I think Sigurdsson, the type of player that he is, probably, is going to be pushing to try and at least get a sniff. And, I'm actually confident that coming off the bench in the Prem, he's going to score a few goals this year with that point to prove, and because we know he can score a worldie. So I'd like to see him start. Also, just because we know Gomez has obviously had his injury last year, so I just wouldn't want to overload him early. He's also 100% going to go and play for Portugal again, so he's not going to get much of a break. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Siggy in there, and obviously DCL and Richarlison up top. I'm expecting us to win. The club needs to. We need to be playing in semi-finals, finals. We need to be winning tournament, cups like this. We need to be playing at Wembley. I think that the squad that we have now and the way that we're set up, and obviously Don Carlo in charge, this is vital. And we've got a really good run at it. Some of the better, the top higher sides have been knocked out already. So, I think we win this 2-0, maybe 3-0. We maybe get an extra one late. West Ham are obviously going to dig in early, but I just think that the quality we have will eventually be able to break them down. And I think 2 or 3-0, and we march on to the next round.
I think,
nice.
Just before we go for a break, there's breaking news coming out of Aston Villa. Aston Villa have just signed Ross Barkley.
Oh,
really?
Signed him or on loan?
I'm not sure, but we've just had it in the WhatsApp group. There's a picture of Ross
there you go.
Barkley
Breaking news.
with whoever the Aston Villa manager is. I can't remember his name. Dean Smith, is it?
Smith, I think.
I think it's Dean Smith, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was still David O'Leary. I don't know.
Okay, here we go.
Interesting.
Ross Barkley arrived on a season-long loan.
Okay.
That makes for a very interesting midfield, though, for them. With mind you, interesting to see Barkley and Kazoo as well.
Yeah.
But
that makes for a very interesting midfield for them with Grealish and Barkley.
Well, they're very similar.
They've had a
Very
good
similar players, actually. So that, you're right. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, well, I guess it'll put Grealish out wide. But yeah, that's interesting.
There
I
you
guess
go.
Chelsea didn't have room for him anymore with the 85 players they bought, so well for them too.
Yeah.
I do think, as you guys said, West Ham is just like the previous 2 games, 2 EPL games. West Ham is a team we should be beating.
Yes.
And we seem to, at the moment, be winning the games we should be winning. So I'm not overly nervous about it. I agree. I think we should win.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we are going to go into halftime break. See you later. And we're back. So yes, we have another game on the weekend. Brighton at home at the Goods. I think I'll start off with this one. I think he'll definitely start a strong team. Same team against Crystal Palace. And home advantage. I think it'll be a tough game. I would say maybe 3-1. Nick.
Yeah, I think Brighton are quite a decent side. They play some good football. I think that fella Morpay up front, he's a little bit of a so-and-so, and I think that's what you need in a player. You need that sort of grit, determination these days in football.
It's a nice way of putting it, Nick.
Sorry?
Yeah. That's a nice way of putting him.
I'm being very diplomatic. This is a PG show.
Right, you've done well.
But yeah, he is. And you know what? I think if he was playing for us, he wouldn't mind that. I think he's going to moan at the referee. He's going to kick defenders and all that sort of stuff and really get in their faces. And he looks dangerous and he looks like he can finish, which is good. And he'll get 10 goals this year, which will be great for them. Maybe slightly more, maybe 12, 13. And he's a good little player for them. So we definitely got to watch them. They've got Dunk at centre back, and Lord knows that we are vulnerable from set pieces still. So that's probably going to be their best outlet for them. I'm still confident though. The start of the season. I guess the cynic in me thinks that we are due a result not to go our way. But I do think the way that we started, we'll win this game quite comfortably, 2 or 3-1, I would say. Tim, what about you, mate?
Yeah, look, I'm a bit nervous about this game, and I think I've said that every week so far since Tottenham. This one in particular, because I still have nightmares of the away game against them last season.
Oh God!
Michael Keane stood on Connolly, and it was never a penalty, and they got a penalty. And
just quickly, Connolly, he's another one, isn't he? He's horrible.
That's right. Yeah. And then the one that worries me actually the most is Trossard. He was the one who actually came on in that game, and really after they drew it at 2-2. I think there was about 15, 20 minutes left, and he was the one who came on and really terrorised us down the left-hand side. And he put the cross in that led to Dinier's own goal in stoppage time. And he himself, I think, hit the post 3 times against United on the weekend. So he was a very well-credentialed player when they bought him, and it looks like he's had his season to adapt, and now he's starting to adapt. So
shows you can't finish though.
No, that's right. You don't get goals for hitting the bar, do you? So look, it's again, I say every week that I'm nervous, and I'm trying to get in that vibe of, no, this is a game that we should win, and we will win because we should. But yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I really want to be. In terms of lineup, I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So same lineup from the first 3 weeks, basically in the Prem. I'd say, look, I do get the feeling that we are going to concede in most games that we play in. I still don't think we're 100% solid defensively yet. So basically any scoreline I predict is going to include at least 1 goal to the opposition for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'd probably agree with Nick, 2 or 3-1 to us. Chris?
So I watched Brighton's game last week, and they're quite a solid football team. Really, they move the ball about quite good, and they were really stiff not to win that game against United. Obviously, the penalty at the end and the lot, we all know what happened there. But they got a few players that could cause us problems. Mapai, Connolly, both of them. You're right, Nick. They're very crafty. They're the type of players that will kick out, the type of players that will dive. Connolly probably could have got sent off last week for a couple of dives where he wanted penalties, and he shouted for him. So I think he's going to be a bit tricky, especially with someone like Mina, who is all arms and legs and can be quite dangly and keen as well. So that's going to be a bit interesting. But other than that, they've got that Lamp. Is it Lamptey?
Lamptey, yeah, the right back.
Yeah, so he's started the season really, really well, and it's going to be interesting to see how he goes, because he's obviously not going to be able to get as forward with our midfield sort of holding him back, and the way that we generally hold the ball and hold possession, the most so far this year anyway. I reckon we're going to win this game a bit easier than everyone thinks. I reckon 2 or 3-0. I just think that someone like Richarlison, he's obviously only got the 1 goal in the Premier League, but I think he's close to something really, really big. And I think, defenders like Lewis Dunk and the like that Brighton have, and the way they set up, I think perfect for someone like Richie to have a field day. So yeah, I'm thinking probably a 2-2, maybe 3-0 win. Hopefully we can keep the positive vibes going. It'd be good to win both the West Ham and the Brighton game and head into the international break undefeated. I think that would be really, really good for morale. And
Definitely.
It's almost unthinkable. It's almost unthinkable to be 6 games in undefeated.
Yeah, we all said, how many points do we all think we're going to get from the first couple, and we're all sort of 2 or possibly 3 out of 5 wins, and to be 3 from 3 and potentially 4 from 4 heading into the derby, I think is
incredible,
beyond our expectations. So,
I think I was pretty hard line at the start of the season, looking at those first 5 fixtures and saying, for us to progress as a club, 10 to 12 points had to be the pass mark.
Yep.
And so my thinking behind that was Palace, West Brom, Brighton win, maybe sneak a point against one of Tottenham or Liverpool.
Yep.
So, if we can be on 12 already going into the Liverpool game, amazing, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's beyond our expectations, and I think the form that the team's in and the way they're playing and just the general vibe around the place, once again, watching the Everton in training YouTube videos and seeing everything that's coming out in the media, the biggest thing that I sort of think is the players' mentality, because they've started so well, the fans aren't on their back. They're not getting any negative articles written about them. There's no negative questions in the press conferences. It's all positive. And the vibe at the moment around Goodison and Finch Farm is just pure positive vibes. And I think it's going to keep rolling. I want to see us top of the Prem, top of the iTunes music charts, top of the movie charts.
I think I'm more concerned about that. I think if we get a number one song, that'll go down in history. Whereas if we're number 1 in the Premier League after 3 or 4 games, obviously we're not going to stay there, are we? So
who even is Miley Cyrus?
It's been a great week. There's actually been a few memes that have come out of it now. Miley Cyrus saying she's looking forward to Jason Derulo away and can't wait to play us at home the week after. So there's been some good ones out of it, but all the publicity we're getting, the Spirit of the Blues was downloaded, I think 300,000 times in Colombia. So once again, that's just positive vibes for the Blues, and I think it'll keep rolling, and I'm positive. I'm starting to. In a very negative Melbourne in lockdown, I'm starting to see the positive, and Everton are keeping me there. So
I think it just gives us all, from a global Evertonian perspective, all something just to feel good about and just feel proud about. Because
absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, it's 3 games in. It's 3 games in. Nothing's been achieved as of yet, but I just think the good vibes, the fact that we're able to reach out to each other. We're in lockdown in Melbourne, in one of the toughest lockdowns ever, and it's been very hard on everyone's mental well-being and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's just given us something to be happy about. And I think
definitely,
the fact that we've got our Evertonians in Colombia downloading the song from the 80s even. They probably never even heard of Everton or have never held us in high esteem until James. The fact that they're getting behind us is great, and just I know it sounds cheesy, but it just feels like we've got this whole community of people just rallying behind everybody.
Yeah.
And all the kids back in England are happy with the fact that the song is number 1.
And it's making other people angry. I love it.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of people trying to tear it down, like Chris Moyles on Radio 1 or whatever channel he's on, that idiot. Trying to be a bit of a Scrooge about it. But I think everyone, at the end of the day, it's good vibes. We're not hurting anybody. It's just a bit of a laugh, and it's fun, and it shows the power of the Everton fan base globally. So that's great.
But the Everton fan base is growing globally, and I think that's the most positive thing. And like we said when we first signed James, it's not just him as a player; it's the commercial pull that he brings. And the club is starting to see that, and that can only benefit us heading into Bramley Moore and new stadium and wanting to play European football. So we need to build on it, and I think James has been perfect for that. And I think it's going to keep rolling this week.
I just hope one of those downloads in Colombia was Shakira, so she can start learning the song.
Yeah.
She can come and perform it at Goodison
Imagine
after
that.
we
Imagine that she comes to Australia on the, when COVID's over, she comes to Australia on a tour, and at the MCG she does a show. Hips don't lie, all those massive tunes, and then all of a sudden she sings the spirit of the blues in like a sort of a South American Latin sort of with all the drums and the dancers and all that sort of stuff. That'd be fantastic.
Why not? Now we've got the transfer window coming up to close. Has anyone heard any updates on any transfers?
No, just rumbles of Tamori, and a very loose link, but it was picked up in the WhatsApp group by one of the guys that Zuma is potentially on the radar, but I don't know how much that is lazy journalism, and the fact that we haven't got anyone else, and the fact that he's played with us before and is kind of in and out of the Chelsea team. They might have put two and two together and made five, but other than that, not really.
We're obviously linked with. I think everybody's assuming that we're going to get another centre back. I think, we probably do need one because of the injury to Holgate and to Branthwaite. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did get one. We're linked with the Barcelona centre back. Yeah, so we're linked with him. I had a look on Sky Sports transfer updates this morning, and that's really it. Zuma obviously is always going to be there, but I think it's lazy journalism. Once again, I think we're linked with. We're linked with Zaha. Apparently, there's a few teams in for him as well. So, personally, I don't think we need him. But if we were to get him, I think he adds to our squad. I think the biggest thing for us is that Carlos said he wants a squad of 25, and right now we got 31, so 6 have to go. Obviously, Sandro, Besic are definitely going to get let go. Probably Balassi. That'll be 3. It's interesting to see if there'll be 3 more. So another thing, I guess, of interest is the club come out this morning or yesterday in the UK and said that Alice Sims from the 23s is not going to be loaned out until January.
Okay.
So I don't know, or until January at the earliest. So I don't know whether that maybe potentially has Moise Keane going out on a loan, possibly, and Alice Sims stepping in to that. I think he scored about 5 or 6 goals in the first couple of games of the 23s. He actually scored 2 the other day that were quite good. So maybe a little bit to play out there. But, I think in typical Everton fashion, and I know it's the new and improved Everton, but I wouldn't be surprised if on deadline day something happens either way that might shock us. Maybe we do sign Zuma on deadline day for 40 mil or something outrageous, but we send them someone horrible back in return. Maybe they can take Delph off our hands or Walcott.
Bundle up all the rejects. So Sandro, Balassi, Besic, Delph. Here you go, boys.
Yeah. So I think it'll be an interesting few days. Does it close on? Is it the 5th?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it will be an interesting few days. I think it'll be more interesting for everybody if Man City get done this weekend again. I think it'll be more interesting because they'll just throw the checkbook out and buy whoever they want.
Yeah.
And then that could have a bit of a flow on. And if they go and buy a second defender on top of the one they've just bought this morning from Benfica, maybe that'll be someone like John Stones will be going elsewhere. So, we've been linked with him a little bit too. So I think it could be exciting in the fact that there's probably not going to be a lot of deadline day deals for us. So exciting because the squad is pretty safe. But then also exciting because we could get a last minute addition possibly.
Yeah. Neymar.
I think
Neymar. We've got the link now, don't we? You did the video for Richarlison for Player of the Year last year, so you never know. Neymar in the blue would be pretty good.
I think with the Holgate injury and then also Branthwaite going down, I think there was a bit of an expectation that we would dip into the market for a centre back, most likely on loan, because we're not made of money just yet. Although maybe some of the proceeds from downloading the Everton way are headed back to the club. But yeah, I think honestly we've obviously survived through the first 5 games with just Keane and Mina, who certainly haven't disgraced themselves, although Mina's had some moments. I don't know. I haven't really seen much news on how bad or when the Holgate or Branthwaite might come back. But I think, if one or both of them is due back, say by the Liverpool game, which is 3 weeks away, then I don't really think there's much business to be done. I think, as you touched on, Chris, the more pressing thing for us is getting rid of the players that we don't want. Guys like, we rattled off a few names there. And yeah, Moise Keane's an interesting one. Obviously, I'll personally be quite shattered if he goes.
I think it'll be a loan. I don't think they're gonna sell someone that we've only had for 18 or 12 months that hasn't really. He just hasn't shown anything yet, and he's 19, so I couldn't see us selling him. I think we'd only be able to loan him.
Yeah. And there are some rumours of him going to Juventus on a loan, which seems crazy to me because he wasn't even getting games there anyway. But
yeah, that's weird. Yeah,
so I mean, just a quick round table. Guys, if you could bring in one player in one position, what would it be? Nick?
I was hoping you weren't going to come to me first.
Yeah, that's
I can take over if you want.
I think of my feet. I think we need the centre back.
Yeah.
I think we need the centre back. Obviously, I'd love a Zaha or someone like that. I think would be great. Obviously, because we all get excited about attacking players, but I do think we need a centre back. So I think. Do you know what? I know I'll probably get hammered for it because I know he wasn't amazing, but I'd like Zuma. Zuma knows the club. Yeah. Maybe even a John Stones. Again, probably get daggers for that as well. But again, knows the club and is a decent, for either a loan option or a third or fourth choice centre back eventually. Then would be a good buy. But or loan. What about you, Andy?
Centre back wise, I wouldn't mind Zuma coming back. Because he'll be, working with really good players now. And, I'll take Zaha. Why not? As long as the price is, reasonable.
Yeah.
Chris?
So I've just tried to find how long Branthwaite's out for, and it hasn't said anything other than a few weeks. So I think, Tim, you could be on the money there that there'll be nothing. I think that if we survive to this game, obviously get to the international break, and then he's fit enough, he becomes the backup to Mina until Holgate, who I think Holgate's another 3 or so weeks away. So I'd say probably a centre-back is the only likeable, logical spot I can see us bringing someone in. If I could choose anyone, I'd probably go out of Zuma and John Stones. I'd probably bring John Stones back in just because I know him and Keane have played together for England, and I think that would probably work a little bit better. And to be honest, in my honest opinion, as soon as Holgate's fit, he's back in there to play with Keane, and whoever comes in is going to be a role player anyway. So probably a centre-back, but I don't think anyone. I would like to just see everyone leave that needs to leave so that we've got the squad that we need and use our youth where we need to, who, once again, our youth under David Unsworth are flying again. So really good. And I just like transfer deadline days, especially when it's in the season, I think is a good day. I sit with Sky Sports up on my TV, and I keep refreshing every sort of 5 minutes to see who's going where. And I think this year there could be some crazy deals because teams like United and City are not happy and not winning. And I think they could just throw the checkbook just to try and bring someone in to hopefully land a better combination than that they've got. So looking forward to it.
Nice. Is that everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just do want to quickly mention that, as you were saying before, Chris and Tim, you brought up the under-23s. They had a great 4-1 win against Derby. The under-18s also had a great win, a 4-0 against Stoke. And the women actually beat Chelsea to get into the next round of the FA Cup. So well done to those teams. Well done.
And everything's coming up, Everton.
That's it. Everything is coming up.
I just want to mention one more time that we're also number 1 in the UK iTunes charts.
There you go.
Is there an Aussie playing for us in the women's? Is there?
Yeah, Russo.
Russo. Okay, yeah. I heard someone said the other day that there's an Aussie playing for Everton. I'm like, I know we've got a young boy, someone that we've got in the 23s, but like who? And they're like, oh, you've got someone playing in your women's side, and I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. So sorry Samantha Kerr, because she plays for Chelsea. You're out. So yeah, with that we'll finish up now. You can find us. Oh no, it just disappeared. Oh my god, this is terrible.
You can find us here every week.
Yeah. Here we go.
Hopefully, with
you
a
can
new
find us
rebranding soon.
You can find us on the socials, Twitter at Toffees Victoria, our Facebook page Everton Supporters Club of Victoria, and our Instagram toffees.victoria. Bring on tomorrow morning. Bring on the weekend. Come on, you Blues. Thanks, guys.
Come on, you Blues. See you, boys.
See you guys.
Yeah.